Greetings everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of Some Bond Geek Talks About with me, your host, the name's Stevens, Henry Stevens. Everybody, how'd you do? Hope you're well, hope enjoying a good Bond film, a good Bond book, a good Bond video game, a good James Bond, whatever makes you part of this glorious fandom, everybody. Welcome. And today we're going to be discussing Pierce Brosnan's third James Bond film, The World's Not Enough, everybody. Can't wait to discuss it with you all. But before we get into that, everybody, if you don't mind, let me just do my little bit of house cleaning I, of course, do with us all. Please, if you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I love hearing your comments about the films and everything, discussions we talk about and Some Bond Geek Talks About. It's always really, really great. Also, if you have subscribed to the channel, why not consider clicking the notification bell icon down below to see future updates and videos. And just, as always, everybody, just from me to you, a massive thank you for coming on here and being part of the show, everybody. It really, really means a lot. Right, now we've got that out of the way, everybody, let's discuss The World Is Not Enough. So, here is my initial thoughts and feelings on the film. It's a real mixed bag. And to be honest, I think a tiny bit of a letdown. And I'll get into this in more say, but essentially, everybody, at the core concept of my problem, and I'll go into this in more detail, is the whole film as an overall package is not very good, but there's individual elements in it that are really, really good. It's just not tied together. But let's just get into this in a minute, everybody, because first off, as always, we've got to discuss my personal connection with this film and the James Bond film franchise. This is what the whole point of Some Bond Geek Talks About is, as well as telling you all about my personal connection. And you know what? The World's Not Enough I have a real massive personal connection with World's Not Enough. I grew up near the city of Milton Keynes. I love Milton Keynes. It's a really great city. I always firmly recommend it. And it's no longer a cinema anymore, but they have this area called The Point. Obviously got a big red triangle. And there used to be a cinema down the bottom. It's like a UCI cinema. Always remember that. And there used to be these escalators that went down to the area where the cinema was. And at the side of these escalators, there was like big 3D cardboard cutouts of like movies coming up. And there was this like massive one for The World's Not Enough. It was just, I just remember watching this incredible. Just, you know, there was like Bond here, there was the girls there, the bad guys, the explosion. It honestly, everybody, it was incredible. It really, really was. And I remember literally getting excited going, new Bond film, it's a new Bond film. I even as a, you know, how old was I now? This is 1999, so I was 7 years old when World's Not Enough came out. You can work out what year I was born from that if you want. But I was really excited. I remember like going to my mum like, I want to watch this, because we went to go see another film instead at the time. Obviously, I'm only 7 years old. And literally, all I was thinking about just watching that movie was, yeah, I'm enjoying it, but I want to watch The World's Not Enough instead. But my mum said, obviously, I was too young to watch it and can go watch it at the cinema. Now, she did actually, though, take my older brother, who's 3 years older than me. So he was actually only 10 when the films are 12. So mum was a bit naughty about that, but we'll get into that a bit later. To see the film. So my brother got to see it, because, again, we were very tall kids, so he got away with it very well. He got to see it, the lucky... I can't say it on this channel, but I couldn't. It's like, I'll always remember, like, literally, he got to go see it, but I couldn't. I was so annoyed. It was just, oh my god, it was hilarious. Honestly, as a boy, I will admit, I had a bit of a boy temper tantrum. Just he got to see it and I didn't. But what I do remember is when it finally got released on home video in 2000. Again, we bought it from Blockbuster and we got the DVD of it, you know, the old, obviously the special edition DVDs that came out. And I remember on the box, it was like buy one, get one free. So my mum basically said, because I was with her at the time, like, go pick any other Bond film you want, you know, and I'll get it as the get one free, because my mum wanted World's Not Enough, and like, this was great. And I picked Dr. No. And at that moment, everybody, that time when we got The World's Not Enough and I got Dr. No, that was properly, I would say, the start of me collecting all the Bond films. You know, yes, I had GoldenEye, we had Tomorrow Never Dies, heck, I had Goldfinger on VHS at the time. These were all VHSs, by the way, at the time. But I'd probably say this moment, getting The World's Not Enough and Dr. No, that was the start of me properly collecting all the movies, and I was going to get them all on DVD. So yeah, so when I think about World's Not Enough, it really is about, when I think about me not being able to go see it, and like that film, I connect a lot with the start of me sort of collecting the whole series and really sort of upping up my ante, if you will. I've also got to tell you this other story, and basically I got permission from my dad to tell you this because it concerns him, but obviously I'll just say my dad's favourite Bond girl of all time is Sophie Marceau. I think that's his sort of celebrity crush. And he does mind saying he does have a pacemaker. And I remember, by the way, I'd like to say he's perfectly 100% fine. His according to his doctors, the pacemaker really hardly comes in use. It's just every now and then. And I always remember he had to be on one of those, the glove things, check his heart rate monitor. I decided I'm never going to get an option like this again, because every time he watches the torture sequence, it's literally like, oh, this is, he gets excited. And I thought, I'll never get a chance like this again. So while he had this thing on, I said, come on, let's watch that scene. And it's like, oh, don't be, he wanted to watch it because it's his favourite. And I'm not joking, on the chart, it was like, beep, 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 that scene. Beep, 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 beep. It was literally at that moment, you could see his heart was getting excited and racing over Sophie Marceau and that whole torture chair sequence. It's just, that's another happy memory I really have with The World's Not Enough. I just always remember that. It was so funny in my opinion. But and again, I'll just say as well, as always, everybody, because it's really important, I used to watch these films with my grandfather a lot. And again, wasn't enough. We watched every now and then. I don't remember us watching that much. I don't remember him talking about it that fondly, but he enjoyed it. I mean, he did enjoy it. It was still a great Bond film in his mind. But anyhow, that's really all my personal history connection with The World's Not Enough at this moment. Let's just go into talking about the bad things, and let's get started on it, everybody. You know what's coming. I hate them. And here we have it, everybody. That BMW. Again, why do we have a BMW, everybody? It's awful. It looks an awful car, doesn't it? I'm sorry. Again, I say it again like I did in Goldeneye and Tomorrow Never Dies. If you're a BMW lover, great. I love that you love this car. But I'm sorry, for me, that is just... ugh. And again, it's a bit like, how I said like the Tomorrow Never Dies one was slightly sort of vindicated because it had that action sequence. In this one, you get a little bit of a rocket use and then it just gets sawn in half. Now, I'm not going to lie, when the car got sawn in half, I was like, yay! Huzzah! I was really like that, so I didn't really mind. And Bond's lovely line of, Q's not going to like this, I thought was really, really great as well. But again, I'm happy to say, though, this is the last of the BMW period. The dark side of Bond cars, everybody. This is the end. This is the last one. Next film, we get a lovely Aston Martin Vanquish. Thank God. But no, the other thing I'm not really a fan of this film, and going back to my initial thoughts, the plot and the main villain plot, overall to me, is really lackluster, boring, and quite frankly, not in the same ballpark as any of the previous Bond films. I think to be honest, when I was a kid, I was like, what actually is the villain plot here? I really don't... I know it's something to do with oil, but what is actually the main plot? And then you've got a nuclear bit, but what are they actually trying to blow up and what will that do? And it's like, I was watching... obviously as an adult, I understand a bit more what the bad guy plot is. But it's like, even now, it's like, it's just very forgettable. It's very bland. And it's not really that important in the content of the film, and it should be. The whole sort of plot of the film and the villain scheme is one of the big crunches of the Bond films, and it's what keeps the whole film sort of together. It's the foundations, it's the glue between each bit. And it's so weak in this point, and this film, everything just slightly falls apart. So what you get, I think this is my big thing about World's Not Enough, is just some moments that are really good on their own, but as a complete whole narrative, it just doesn't work. And following that from as well, Renard, as a character, I think, is quite a letdown. I don't mean to be rude against Robert Carlyle, and he does turn out, even though you think he's the main villain in the film, which we'll get to a bit later, it turns out to be, he is a main villain, just not the big main villain. Every time he's on screen, honestly, it's quite underdramatic, and I think it's a bit of a wasted opportunity. I don't really like the character of Renard that much as a villain. I just, again, a bit, I think he's a bit forgettable, and I think he's built up so much and he's completely not used, I think, very well at all. It just slightly spoils the movie. So really, those are the massive three things I have an issue with this film. The whole sort of foundation of the glue that sticks it all together is not working, the BMW, and, Renard not being much of a thing. But on the opposite side of that, as I say, there's some really good points. As I was saying, individual sequences in this movie are really, really good. Like the opening credits, the whole bit of the bank, which is great. The boat chase, which is absolutely unbelievable. Honestly, this boat chase, if I honestly, as a kid, I must have rewatched just the boat chase so many times. It was so really, really good. And I love the whole boat chase, everything. It just works so well. And again, a lovely use of actually using London for a change. And it just, the pacing of it, how, the gadgets in the boat, everything about that boat chase, I think is brilliant. It's like literally talking about like the pinnacle high of action sequences in a Bond film. And again, you got the Power Hawk sequence that is, by itself is quite good. You've got in the pipeline with the nuclear bomb as a little bit is, I think really good. You've got maybe the scene at the casino, which is all right, but by itself, just as a whole, doesn't really do anything. This is the point. I mean, and honestly, everybody, I'll actually say this right off the bat. The finale of the film is when Bond kills Elektra, really. The whole submarine sequence is just like, it feels so tacked on. That's when we go, the Q scene is, as its individual thing, a very thing, and we'll get into that later. Oh, trust me, we'll get into that later. And briefing sequence, it's like, I've got the Lego bricks, but I haven't really got the, it's not strong enough to stick all together. Just individually, these things are really, really great. But, and I really want to praise here right now, actually, Pierce Brosnan, because my God, even though GoldenEye was a favourite film, I always said to myself that maybe actually his best performance is in GoldenEye. And rewatching it, The World's Not Enough recently, just before this review, I have to actually, I'm putting that into question at the moment, because Pierce Brosnan is so incredible in this movie. I mean, he's dark, he's dangerous, he's charming, he's sophisticated, he's interesting. And what I love about him in this film really comes down to this. Brosnan really has made, I think, more than any other Bond at this point, more human. And I'm not talking about just when he breaks his arm, but how literally he starts feeling for Elektra what's happened and getting manipulated. He's getting angry. He's really showing he's a human and getting upset and cross and feeling a bit scared and panicked. It's all there. Honestly, I'm actually now really thinking, is The World's Not Enough Brosnan's best performance as Bond? It's really hard to choose, I think, between the two. But there's some amazing scenes he does in this film, whether, being all those different ranges of emotions. And I think Brosnan really is just literally just standing right up there, I think, with joy of... Honestly, he's just so good in this film. He really is utterly fantastic. I think he's absolutely amazing. And following on from that, I think now's the time really just to carry on talking about the other characters here, because, I've talked about Bond in this film. Honestly, Brosnan's so amazing in this film. I've talked about Renard in this film. I haven't really talked about Electra King. Now, Electra King, if you was the main Bond girl / actually main villain, which, by the way, I'm going to say right here now, everybody, if you know anybody who works at Eon, I'm going to send this message through you to me. Please, more female villains. They are just amazingly brilliant, and we need more in the series. I want people like Vanessa Kirby, Helen Mirren, Helen Bonham Carter, Daisy Ridley, Emma Thompson. Just more female villains, please, because whenever you do female villains, they're fantastic. You've got Rosa Klebb, you've had Dina Onatop, Fiona Volpe, now you've got, Electra King, I think the grand mistress of them all. She's such an amazing character, played so incredibly well by Sophie Marceau, really like a master of seduction and manipulation. And she actually manipulates Bond, which is great. Honestly, when she gets announced in the villain of the film, that's like the highlight for me. That works so well. That's brilliant. I love that. And she really enjoys playing villain, and she does such a good villain. I want to go back to that scene where Bond has to finally kill her, because, Bond has basically fallen for her a bit. He's got her at gunpoint, instead of saying call it off, and he's actually a bit hesitant about shooting her. It's she's literally trying to manipulating him again. And then he does shoot her because she is the villain, everybody. And you see the remorse he has, just looking at her dead corpse. It's just, Sophie Marceau is so incredible in this movie. She really is utterly fantastic. And just really, I think, captures the audience as well. And, you feel like you've been manipulated and cheated on. It's really, really cool. Along with that as well, we've got to talk right now about Dr. Christmas Jones, Denise Richards as a Bond girl. I'm going to be very short and sweet and simple when I'm talking about Christmas Jones here. I did not know who Denise Richards was pre this film. This is the first thing I ever heard of her, everything I saw in. As such, I believe her more as a nuclear physicist, as maybe some others would of the time. But because of that, honestly, I've never found her performance annoying or oh my god, isn't this so fun, it's Denise Richards pretending to be a nuclear physicist. This is the first thing I got ever introduced to her, so I sort of believe it a bit more than others. But she's okay, she's serviceable, she doesn't really stand out like a sore thumb, And again, I will always say it, 2 great Bond women in this film, not dumb, stupid bimbos, stuff that's integral, part of the story, strong, independent, or damaged and conflicted characters that just work so well in this movie. Honestly, I just don't understand why people have this thing about saying Bond women are just idiotic, dumb bimbos, when throughout the whole films, basically, there is no such thing. Let's just go talk about the MI6 regulars here. Now, you've always got Judi Dench, my She can order me to do anything in even invade a country, I will do it. She's spectacular, amazing. You got Samantha Bond again as Miss Moneypenny, my favourite Miss Moneypenny. I think giving her best performance of her whole tenure. Her working off Brosnan here is just beautiful. Absolutely. You got Michael Kitchen returning as Tanner, and you've also still got Colin Sands Robinson together, which again really works. This to me is the MI6 family. But the thing is, I'm trying actually not to get emotional here, and it's hot in here as well. Just this is the last one, obviously, with Desmond Llewelyn and Q, who you've basically grown up with. Desmond Llewelyn is Q. And don't get me wrong, introducing John Cleese as a replacement is a great choice, and I love John Cleese, and I even love him in Die Another Day, and I'll get to that later. But it makes it so much harder seeing this film, just knowing this is Desmond Llewellyn's last, and he gives that lovely little speech at the end of Bond, always try to teach you 2 things. It's like that grandfather trying to sort of pass on that last bit of wisdom. It's just beautiful. It's so beautiful, and I love it to bits. He's just so amazing in this film. Again, giving a one last amazing performance. Just Desmond Llewelyn was just a legend in the series, and no one else was. And Ben Whishaw does a great job of doing its own thing, but not copying. And just Desmond Llewelyn just absolutely fantastic. And it was so upsetting with how he died. I'm trying to get emotional here. I'm trying not to get emotional. I've always had such a very strong connection of all the characters, I think, outside James Bond to Q. And I remember when my mum told me that the actor had died, and I felt terrible, honestly. I knew something was up with me mentally. I just felt so bad that day. It was unreal, everybody. But I know I've got to carry on talking about other stuff. Just rest in peace, Desmond, and still to this day you are an absolute legend. But the other thing of obviously talking about this film, certainly in this era, is the Bond games. Now, the world's not enough, I think, when it comes to Bond games, has 2 very famous ones. The N64 version, the PS1 version. When I got a PS2, I think in 2001, I got given with it Agent Under Fire and World's Not Enough. Now, Agent Under Fire, in my opinion, was a much better, superior game in every single way. So I always looked a bit down on World's Not Enough. However, when I finally started playing it, I actually found it was actually quite a really good game. I would always thoroughly recommend the World's Not Enough on PlayStation 1. I never did the N64 version, so I can't really comment on that yet. But as a Bond game goes, the World's Not Enough on PS1 I really enjoyed and had a really actually great time playing. I think more than I realised. It just annoyingly at the time, it was like really overshadowed with me from the World's Not Enough. So from Agent Under Fire, apologies. But between the 2. But again, another really great game to go with the film. So yeah, that's really good. So you know what, everybody, look. The World Is Not Enough is such a mixed bag for me. There's some really great moments in it and great characters, but just as a whole, altogether, it's just not working. The plot and the sort of storyline is not working there. The segments are the real key elements in this film, and some of the great characters. Do you know what? I will say this, and this might shock someone, especially with the next film I'm going to be reviewing, but just hear me out on this. I think The World Is Not Enough is Pierce Brosnan's worst James Bond film. Even though I think he gives one of his best performances ever as the role in it, I actually think it's his one of... Yeah, I'll stand by this. I think The World's Not Enough is Pierce Brosnan's worst James Bond film. I bet you're all wondering, what the am I going to say when it comes to Die Another Day? But we'll get into that in the next review, in this review. But I want to know, everybody, what are your thoughts on The World's Not Enough? Do you like it as much as me? Do you not like it as much? I want to know. Comment down below and tell me what you think about The World's Not Enough. As always, everybody, my name's Henry Stevens, and this has been some Bond Geek Talks About. Goodbye.